Hey everyone, thank you for joining me in my kitchen and watching my channel. My name is Amanda if you don't know who I am, and I am so excited. I have been wanting to try this for a while in my Ninja Foodi Possible Cooker Pro, but we are going to be making slow cooker chicken pot pie, all gluten-free with a gluten-free puff pastry on top. I'm so excited to try this out and see how this turns out because this will be my first time making this, and I love warm hearty kind of meals like that, and being gluten-free, to be able to have something like this and make it in my Ninja, it's gonna be awesome. So let's go ahead and get started, and we're gonna adventure and see how this works out. Okay, so let's go over all the ingredients that we are going to be using for this. So we are going to be using cream of chicken, condensed soup. It's gluten-free. I get this from Walmart. This one is 10.5 ounces. I really like having these in my pantry on stock because sometimes you just need those things to just whip up something easy. So we're going to use that. I have mixed vegetables with carrots, green beans, corn, and peas. We are only going to be using about 20 ounces, so we're going to take from it. Now let me point something out about Great Value veggies. This one does not say that it contains wheat, but when I go to buy broccoli from there, their Great Value brand, it has wheat in it for the broccoli. I believe they put like a wheat coating on the broccoli to make it to where it doesn't stick together. So I always make sure I do read my ingredients on the Great Value brands, but this one does not say it has wheat in it. So we're going to be using this.
I meant to say wheat flour dusting so they don't stick.
We're going to be using milk, minced garlic. I get this one from Costco. A yellow onion, Hidden Valley Ranch seasoning, salad dressing and recipe mix. I'm so excited because this is gluten-free. I remember for years I couldn't find it gluten-free. It's just really nice that they are gluten-free. So I'm excited to be using this. Let's see. We're going to be using gourmet petite potatoes. We're not going to use the entire bag. If you don't have these type of potatoes, you can just use a russet potato. But this is what I have. I got these from Aldi's. We're also going to be using some celery, 2 boneless chicken breasts, and let me show you what the topping is going to be. It's going to be this char puff pastry dough, and I really like this one a lot. It's gluten-free, so I'm so excited about this. And this you need to let sit out for 4 hours before using. So I will be putting this back into the freezer because we don't need it yet. We don't need it till towards the end of the process of making this when we put it in the oven. And yes, we are going to be putting the Ninja pot actually in the oven, which is so exciting. Oh, and before I forget, we are going to need 1 egg, and we're just going to do like an egg wash on top of the puff pastry. So it's going to be really tasty. So let's go ahead and start getting things prepped because I am so excited for this and I cannot wait to try it. I pray that it turns out amazing. So I really like all the ingredients that we're going to be using in this, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, putting this bad boy back in the freezer. And we're going to need a cutting board so we can start cutting up the onions. Well, sorry, the onion, just 1 onion. We are only using 1. Okay, first we're going to go ahead and dice up our yellow onion. It's a fairly decent size. And then we're going to go ahead and saute it right into our Ninja Foodi Possible Cooker Pro. Let's get that cut up. Hi! Hi, buddy. Whoa, be careful. You like your little bike? You like your little bike? Yeah.
Lately, I have been saving my onion scraps, any type of like veggie or fruit scraps, and I have been trying to make my own compost with it. So we will see how this turns out. This is my first time trying this, so fingers crossed.
So this onion is actually fairly large. I'm actually only going to use some of it and then and then put the rest in my refrigerator for another meal for another night because I mean it's just quite a bit. So I'm actually going to I'm actually going to put these in the refrigerator, and these I'm going to dice up and put into the Ninja. So let's get something to put these into the refrigerator for. Alright, so I'm going to put these in a Ziploc bag and then just right into my refrigerator, and I can use these for another meal another night. All right, so let's continue dicing these up.
If you don't have a Ninja Foodi Possible Cooker Pro, you can just saute your onions directly on the stove and then put them into your crock pot and then just cook everything in your crock pot. And then when it's time, you can take it out of the crock pot and put it into a baking casserole dish and then just put the puff pastry on top that way.
All right, so we're gonna go ahead and turn this on. We're gonna hit power. We're gonna put it on the sear saute setting and we're gonna leave it on high and we're gonna hit start. Now we're just gonna go ahead and add about 1 to 2 tablespoons of olive oil into it. And we're gonna go ahead and just add the onions directly into it. We're not gonna wait for the digital, I think I need more coffee. The digital image to say add food. We're just gonna go ahead and add it right now because it's gonna gradually heat up. And here's about the size that I diced up the onion. And again, you want to use like a medium or a small. That one that I had was fairly large. All right, so while that is heating up and start sauteing, we're gonna go ahead and chop up some celery. We're gonna use 2 celery stalks. Chop off the ends. Before I forget, we should definitely give this a stir. It's not hot enough yet, but I just want to kind of like flatten it out in there so that way when it does start to get nice and heated up, then it's going to start sauteing it better. Let me show you how that looks. What it's looking like right now. I definitely flattened it out as best as I could. It is slowly heating up and then we can start sauteing it. So let's go ahead and just continue cutting up our celery. All right, so let's continue cutting up our celery. I'm cutting them in half, down the middle. I like making them to where they're manageable in bite sizes. Hi, buddy. Where are you going? You gonna ride your bike around the house? So we're just gonna go ahead and put our celery into this bowl because we are sauteing our onions right now. And we need 20 ounces of the mixed vegetables with carrots, green beans, corn, and peas. So we're going to do 2.5 cups of this to equal up to the 20 ounces that we need. Let me get some scissors. And we're just going to add that to this bowl here so we have it prepped and ready. The onions are definitely sizzling, so we will give it a stir here in a bit. My youngest is getting into my kitchen buffet over there. He's pulling everything out. This has been the new thing lately, pulling everything out. All right, so we have 2.5 cups of mixed vegetables. We're just going to set that aside. Now we're going to go ahead and take some gourmet petite potatoes and we're going to wash them up and dice those up. All right, so now our digital image says add food, but that's perfectly fine. It is definitely sizzling, so we're going to go ahead and give it a good stir. And because I made them like fairly small, dice size, I'm actually going to go ahead and turn this off because it's cooking faster than I can keep up with getting everything prepped and ready. So we're just going to turn this off because it'll keep cooking because it's still going to stay nice and warm. So let me show you what it looks like right now, and then I will wash my potatoes up and we'll cut those up as well. Here's what they look like right now. They're still cooking even though we have it turned off. We're going to go ahead and cut up these 20 little gourmet petite potatoes into a nice bite size, and we're going to go ahead and add them right in. Here's about how big I am cutting them up.
The recipe that I was using, they had suggested use it russet potatoes, but this is what I had on hand when I went shopping from Aldi's, and I actually like using more of a yellow potato when I cook in my slow cooker setting because I find that it cooks better than a russet potato. Sometimes russet potatoes can take really long cooking on a slow cooker setting, and we're only cooking this for 6 hours. So this size potato and type of potato, it worked really well with this. And I will have the recipe linked in the description box down below so you can follow that as well.
All right, this one was a little bad piece. Just gonna throw that away. All right, we're gonna go ahead and add in our mixed veggies and our celery as well. Now we're gonna go ahead and add the cream of chicken condensed soup. It's gluten-free, it's 10.5 ounces. I got this from Walmart. So we're gonna add this directly right into that. Now we're gonna add 1 cup of milk, 1 tablespoon of butter. We need 1 tablespoon of the Hidden Valley, the Original Ranch Seasoning Salad Dressing in Recipe Mix.
I just love that this is gluten-free. It's really nice to have more products that are gluten-free these days.
So 1 tablespoon. Now there is still stuff like left in the packet, so we are just going to save this for another recipe for another night. Now we need 2 teaspoons of minced garlic.
Now we're going to add pepper and salt to taste. So this is a personal preference on how much you want to add for your liking. Now we're going to go ahead and give it all a good stir so that way everything just mixed nicely together. So that way when it cooks, all the flavors just blend nicely together, making this beautiful, delicious taste. You'll absolutely love it. We're going to take the 2 chicken breasts and we're going to butterfly them. I am really all about butterflying my chicken for certain recipes when it comes to the slow cooker setting. That way my chicken is submerged into the liquid and it makes it nice and tender that way. If you've noticed, if you've cooked chicken just resting on top, sometimes it's not as juicy and tender as you would like it to be. And in this recipe, there's not a lot of liquid. So I'm definitely butterflying them and then putting them in the Ninja.
Hi. Okay, so now we have our chicken butterflied and we're gonna go ahead and put it right directly into the Ninja. Here's what it looks like. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and turn this on and let me show you how we're gonna do that. We're gonna go ahead and hit power. We're gonna hit temperature for low and we're gonna cook for 6 hours. Start. And we're gonna leave it on slow cook. Let's go ahead and stir and then we'll put the lid on.
It was definitely very challenging trying to stir this while holding Connor at the same time and trying to get these submerged into it as best as possible. But this is why I definitely like butterflying my chicken, because there's not a lot of liquid in this. And we don't want to add a lot of liquid to this because we don't want to make it really soupy, because we are going to be putting the puff pastry dough on top. So just try to get it in there as best as possible. Now that it's all mixed together, we're going to go ahead and put the lid on.
Okay, now that we have everything that we need into our Ninja Foodi Possible Cooker Pro and it is set for 6 hours, I will show you the next steps once that is done cooking. It'll be closer towards dinner time. Oh, someone found my earrings. Thank you. And in the meantime, I'm going to give this little guy some attention because he loves when he hangs out with mommy and the kids are at school, so he gets one-on-one time. So I will see you guys closer to dinner time, but thank you for watching so far. So I'm going to hang out with this little ham. Okay, so we have 4 hours and 18 minutes left on the Ninja Foodi Possible Cooker Pro. So we need to take out our puff pastry dough and let it thaw for a good 4 hours before we put it on the top. So we only really need just 1 roll. This is a 2-pack, which is really nice. I really do like this. I love making homemade jams and then putting it on the inside and then baking it. Oh, it's so tasty. I do have a video on how I did that if you would like to find it on my channel. So we just need 1 roll and let it thaw for 4 hours before we unroll it. In the meantime, I can show you what it looks like right now in the crock pot. Okay, so I will be back as soon as the crock pot timer is done, and then we'll go ahead and shred the chicken up and then go ahead and make the nice pretty puff pastry topping and then put it in the oven. So we'll be back as soon as that is done on the timer.
It is now close to dinner time. We have 22 minutes left on the timer. I'm going to go ahead and pull the chicken out so I can go ahead and shred it and put it right back in to the Ninja. It looks amazing, and let me tell you, it smells so good. It smelled so great when we came back in the house after I picked the kids up from school, and the kids were like, "What are you making for dinner?" It smelled so, so good. Now that we're getting down towards the end of when we can put it into the oven, I'm going to go ahead and start getting my oven situated to how big this actually the Ninja pot is. I've never cooked it in the oven before, so this is a first for me. So I'm just removing some stuff from it. It looks so tasty. It really smells great. And being that this is my first time trying this recipe in my Ninja and making a pot pie, I wanted to taste it. I've never used a ranch seasoning packet in something like this before. So it was like, oh my gosh, this is going to taste great. And let me tell you, it tasted freaking fabulous. Excuse me on that, but it was amazing. It was so good. I definitely recommend to not skip on the ranch seasoning packet. It was really good, but it tastes perfect. I'm going to put the lid back on so everything else will still continue to cook. And then I'm going to go ahead and set the oven to 375 degrees. My youngest is starting to get really tired, so I'm going to go snuggle with him while the oven's preheating before I start making the little squares for the puff pastry. The kids are all hanging out together, and I am able to go ahead and shred all this up so I can get it back into the Ninja. The chicken was really soft and tender, and it shredded nicely, and it tasted really good too. I actually want to make this again and just prep it to where I make the inside for the pot pie and cook it in the Ninja for 6 hours and then freeze it in a container. And then when I'm ready to have it, it's already pre-cooked, and just put it into a casserole baking dish and then make the puff pastry for the top and bake it that way. That way I have an easy meal ready for a busy night. Now we can go ahead and put the chicken back into the Ninja. I'm going to go ahead and give it a nice stir, and then I'm going to pat it down so that way it is ready when we do have our puff pastry ready to go on top, but this will also keep it nice and warm. Now we can go ahead and start on our puff pastry and get it prepped and ready. I'm just going to go ahead and unroll it, flatten it out, and we're going to go ahead and remove the paper that's underneath it. I have a cutting board down below so that way it will make it easier, and I'm actually going to be using a pizza wheel to cut this. That way I can get my squares how I want them to be. And it doesn't matter, which direction you start by rolling to cut them, as long as you have either squares or rectangles. This will fit perfectly in the Ninja that way. This is actually cutting very nicely, and you just want to make little squares and rectangles, and then once you have it all done and cut up, I will show you how I'm going to place it on top of the pot pie in the Ninja. Go ahead and remove the lid, and we can go ahead and start putting our puff pastry dough down. And I went and placed one down, but then realized, it's going to be a lot easier to remove it from the base. So definitely use pot holders when you remove it so you do not burn your hands, because it will be hot. Now I got a better angle at it because I'm kind of short, so it's a lot easier for me to reach into it and place it nicely how I want it to be placed. I am starting by adding the puff pastry around the outside. That way I can work my way on the outside and then go in. And this will make it easier. And, I'm trying to make sure that I cover as much possible as I can of the chicken and the potato and the cream. But, do your best. It's not going to hurt. I wish the puff pastry was a little bit bigger. I definitely didn't want to use both puff pastries because I felt that I would waste it a lot. So it still worked out perfectly. And it's okay that there are minimal little gaps here and there. Definitely use your best judgment on placing it down. But as you can see, I'm still going in the outer ring, and then I will go on the inner and keep repeating that until I get all the way to the center, and trying to not show as much as the bottom as possible. We're going to go ahead and make the egg wash, and we're going to use 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of water, and then we're going to mix this all together until it's nicely incorporated. Now we're going to go ahead and brush the egg wash on top, and this is to give it a nice golden brown color on top with a little bit of a sheen. Something I did realize towards the end after it baked, Just be careful on how heavy you actually put some of the egg wash on. One area, it looks really yellow and shiny after it baked, but it was still really tasty. But if you're looking for something, really flawless looking, be careful on how much you actually brush on. But it'll still be really tasty. Just make sure you do this to every square with the egg wash. Now we can go ahead and put the Ninja Foodi Possible Cooker Pro pot in the oven that we set for 375 degrees. Make sure you do not have the lid on it. And we're going to go ahead and bake it between 30 to 40 minutes. Mine took a total of 37 minutes in the oven and until it was a nice golden color on the puff pastry dough. I wanted a nice color, so I kept an eye on it when it turned 30 minutes on the clock. But it turned out perfect. Look how beautiful it looks. There is that one area that I was talking about, well actually two, of how it was a little heavy on the egg wash where you can see it's a little yellow. But overall, I am very happy with how it turned out to look because this was my first time ever doing this. And it was so tasty. My family loved it. My kids loved it a lot. My kids were actually saying that this is their new favorite, and I will be making this again because it was so tasty and easy. I am using the ladle that came with the Ninja Foodi Possible Cooker Pro. This one's really nice because it helps to easily scoop it out. And look at that steam, it's still really hot. But it worked perfectly to get it out without scratching any of the sides up because I don't want to mess up any more of the lining on the inside of the Ninja Foodi Possible Cooker Pro pot. But look how tasty that looks. I am really happy how the gluten-free puff pastry dough turned out for this. It turned out really nice. I loved how the color turned out. It was perfect on top of this. It tasted so delicious. I'm really happy how it turned out. I mean, look at it. It's so tasty. It's still really hot, but it was really good and it was well worth it to make this. And I will definitely, again, I'm going to say it again, make it again because it was really good. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys had a great day. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Bye, guys. Have a great night.